Cyberpunk 2077 was set to define the open-world genre for the next generation of gaming. The hype surpassed Tickle Me Elmo, and the world was ready. Delays led to nightmares of yellow background screens from CD Projekt Red. The fear was real. I purposefully avoided most trailers so I can have a pure gameplay experience. Close to 100 hours, how do I feel about the game? Yeah, it's alright. Cyberpunk is a first-person shooter at its core, and reminiscent of Fallout at its best and Bubsy 3D at its worst. There's a large assortment of weapons to choose from, but as you progress in the game, you'll notice that you'll use these weapons a whole lot less. There are many different ways to go about combat in Cyberpunk, but my character likes sharp objects. Some weapons include long range, assault rifle, SMG, arm missile, shotgun, the Fist of Fury.
It's a thing you found in your aunt's dresser.
Cyberpunk is no slouch when it comes to weapon diversity. However, you will find that you'll use the same weapon over and over again.
I mean, why would you use the Fist of Fury if you could just use a double?
Enemies will have certain weaknesses to them that are susceptible to different weapons and different modes of attack, but it is very rare that this will actually make a difference in your gameplay. One promising aspect is that the game is really fun. When it works really well. When it doesn't work, however, it competes with Skyrim with being the most buggy game ever, making Skyrim look well polished. There were numerous times where I would have to stop the story and reload a certain part of the mission because I would be stuck and there was no way to progress. The game can also be very floaty at times, and it can make combat difficult, which makes the game overall less fun. Once the honeymoon phase wears off, the game becomes kinda shit. At a certain point, you'll realize you keep using the same weapon over and over again, and combat becomes way too easy. So you'll go on a side quest or you go explore the city, and then you'll accidentally run over a pedestrian and a magic missile will just kill you. The AI is absolutely some of the dumbest I've ever seen in a video game, reminiscent into the PS1 era. The police AI is absolutely horrid. There are no police chases. The police will just spawn in randomly after you accidentally bump into a pedestrian. The pedestrian AI is just bad. I mean bad. Just look at this. If you shoot into the air, pedestrians will actually disappear.
Swimming is worthless.
Multiple times I went to grab a ladder in the water just to find out I couldn't actually grab it. But even with all of this, there is one really redeeming factor of Cyberpunk, and that's the story. The story in Cyberpunk is actually really good. While it's not award-winning, it's really fun. The characters feel alive and realistic, and the voice acting is phenomenal.
Gonna need it.
You play as V, a mercenary outlaw going after a one-of-a-kind implant that is the key to immortality. The decisions you make, for the most part, do not play a big role into the story. However, it does make the characters feel more alive and you care about them more.
Dexy's a real deal.
At a certain point in the story, John Wick comes out and hacks your brain. He's hell-bent to get the Kamadogu, which is a mystic relic created by the Elder God. Wait, no, that's Mortal Kombat. Keanu Reeves adds a good element to the game, and his voice acting is actually pretty decent.
50 years of soul prison was worth it for this moment right here.
Soul prison.
While the game might not be CD Projekt Red's magnum opus, it's still really fun and engages you in a good way. The characters you meet are fun and dynamic, and I think that's a redeeming feature of this game. Johnny Silverhand's really not meant to be taken serious because when you boil it down, his character, well, it's really stupid. The life paths in the game really don't affect the story except for the beginning. They don't actually add too much except a couple more dialogue options. The dialogue that you think will affect the story usually doesn't, but when it does, it ruins your day.
I'm sorry, okay?
But a majority of the writing is excellent, and you can tell that a lot of people that worked on The Witcher worked on this game. And there's a lot of cool characters that you meet along the way.
I don't think you're a bad guy. You're trying to survive for you and your family and do good.
Okay, but
my family, your family, none of us are gonna make it. There's a post-human era coming. The breakaway civilization. The deal's been made. It's not.
Okay.
It's not the third dimension. They've made frickin' deals with interdimensional aliens.
Okay.
The game was obviously rushed, and there's a lot of problems with the story, but you still think about it after you're done playing, and to me, that indicates a good game. I'm reviewing this on the PC platform, using a 3700X,
CPU bottleneck.
32 gigabytes of DDR4
Reddit told
RAM,
me your RAM's bad.
a 3090,
Overkill.
and a Samsung Nvme SSD.
Bezos took all your money.
And honestly, the game runs like dog shit. But the graphics are very pretty. The game features dynamic ray trace reflections and is extremely demanding. At 4K, this will bring a 3090 to its knees. There's no doubt that this is the new Crisis.
Benchmarkers rejoice.
This title is plagued with issues on console, so at the time I would not recommend it, but on PC, a 1080 Ti is sufficient without ray tracing. Now, don't go out of your way to buy a 3090 because this game will not run 4K 60 frames a second constant because you'll get dips. I get a lot of dips, even when I don't think I'll get dips.
I'll still get dips.
Cyberpunk features a lot of graphic options, but a majority of them look the same. While the game still looks great, there are a couple issues. Shadows don't show up correctly. You cannot physically see your character's reflections.
Water itself is useless.
And honestly, a couple other things that I could nitpick, but otherwise the game looks great. Now, obviously, the game is very buggy, still to this day.
You just f*** off now, okay?
The new patches really haven't improved much performance. I don't think the bugs are the biggest problem with Cyberpunk. I think the biggest problem is that the game is so unfinished. You could tell a lot of corners were cut and everything was rushed, so the game really isn't that fun once you beat the story. There's nothing really to engage you, and the city really doesn't feel alive. The side missions are a lot of fun and it adds a little bit more to the game, but compared to The Witcher, this game is nowhere near as expansive. There's only so much to do, and once the good side quests are gone, really that's the end of the fun. Keep playing because the combat's fun and you kinda hope that the game will improve, but it really doesn't. I really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun, and I have a lot of hope for it still. And I do wonder if CD Projekt Red will add more into future updates and fix the game, because there's a lot of assets there that they already were gonna use, but you can tell the game was so rushed that they never put it actually in the game. For a game that promised a lot of customization, there's really nothing to be found here. Your apartment in the game is useless. It means nothing, and you can't even buy a new one. The game took the time to record a lot of cool cars and go into detail about the cars, but you can't customize them. You can't even change the color. I chose the female V, and the makeup you choose at the beginning of the game, you can never change again. You can't even change your hair, the hair color. There's nothing that you can really do after that bit at the customization at the beginning. The romance options are useless. There's no interaction with the AI, so when you walk around, it just feels lifeless and dull. So do I recommend buying Cyberpunk? The honest answer is, not right now. The story is really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I thought about it even when I was done playing the game. But outside the story, that's where the game starts to fall apart because it's lifeless, and it's a bit of a bummer because you build it up so well, and then it just shits on it. There's a lot of talk about this game becoming the new No Man's Sky, and I really do hope so because it has so much potential, but right now in the state it's in, I cannot justify paying $60 for this game. I'm also really surprised more people aren't talking about the endings because they had so much potential, but I thought a lot of them were just really stupid. Now, to contrast that, a couple of the endings were actually pretty good. Actually, some of the endings made me like some of the songs in the game better. Overall, I really enjoyed my time in Night City and I had a lot of fun with the game. I just really think in the state it's in, it's not as good as it could be. So, with a heavy heart, I'm gonna give this game 3 out of 5 Scooby Snacks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of the video down below.